Yoko Taro's 2017 hit Nier Automata was a massive release, catapulting Nier as a franchise to fame in the mainstream. Today, we'll take a look at the hottest new hit, Nier Automata, and try and break down for you our thoughts on the game. I'm Fisher Igloo, and this is SRN's review of Nier Automata. And warning, some minor story spoilers are ahead. Nier Automata is the story of two androids and their interactions at a very base level. It's about their journey throughout the game's story and their discovery of what it really means to be human. Early on, we're introduced to 2B, the sole protagonist of the game's runtime, as well as 9S, her partner. The beginning of this game sets up very little, getting the player right into the action in the fight against the machines. It's here where some of Nier's eccentricities really begin to show. The story has no lore given to the player off the bat, simply that it's time for you to do your duty. Nothing was explained as to who you were, why you were there. There was no carefully laid out story exposition, hinting at a greater world beyond, while the game holds your hand through the intro. It was confusing, to say the least. I mean, how is anyone supposed to form their opinions early on without being carefully given each and every detail right at the beginning? This was an overarching problem that we had with Nier Automata's story, in that very little of it made sense. For example, after fighting the first major boss, 9S and 2B are stuck on its back and blow themselves up, and in the following sequence are alive again somewhere in space? Was this a flashback? Why flash back from this point in the first place? It's in this way that much of the story of Nier Automata is confusing, convoluted, and just hard to understand. And to make it worse, at no point in the story does it seem to ever return to this point. This bizarre storytelling plagues Nier Automata's runtime throughout my entire 6-hour playthrough. Regarding the story, one of my biggest complaints, for example, involves a character that was shown later on, the Yorha combat android A2, where she escapes after a fight with the player and is never seen again. With the amount of buildup she seemed to get during conversations with different characters and the lead up to the fight itself, I was really expecting considerably more screen time from this seeming antagonist. Where did she go? Why wasn't she included ever again? It really didn't seem to flow. And to make it even worse, at the end of my playthrough, they stuck an A onto my save file, which I found as confusing as the story was at large. Why not use the industry standard Plus for the New Game Plus system? It's honestly just even in the name. This type of thing would be something I might try out again another day, and I understand why they might include such a feature for a game so short, but I really wish there was more content in the regular game. It really feels like it missed the mark and fell short of what could have been a well-told, comprehensive narrative had the game been fully written, instead of such a short, uncontained storyline. Perhaps, when I finally get around to it, playing Nier Replicant will help answer all of my questions with Automata, but as for the game itself, it feels a little open-ended and not self-contained. It's unfortunate, and I hope to see an improvement in hopeful subsequent games that may come out later on. While the story overall fell short, the gameplay at least holds up with some modern titles. Platinum's influence on the game and its combat systems shine through all the negativity laid out before. Combat's free-flowing and excellently crafted, with a variety of weapons to choose from. Aerials are satisfying, and the movement works really well. And there are plenty of combos that flow right into the next. Enemies and bosses are a good difficulty, and the destructions of large machines and small alike feel great. Even the bullet hell section, something I initially didn't understand, and to be fair, still don't know how that's supposed to tie into the main story, such as the beginning fight against many of the flyers, doesn't entirely feel poorly made. Bosses at least feel very, very good to fight, even if they don't make much sense as to who they are or what they're doing, with much of the text in my playthrough appearing corrupted when I fought many of the bosses. A feature that apparently other people have had and no one has really commented on. I just wish each boss had more to do with the story of Automata overall, and really tied into what the game was trying to tell. A glimmer of hope in a rather mediocre sea, we get to the music. The soundtrack for this game is absolutely gorgeous, with many beautiful pieces for each of the locations and their related fights. As always, the background of this video has been a small taste of what you're in for with Nier Automata's soundtrack. The only drawback, I'll say, that I can think of would be that most of the soundtrack just isn't used in the game. I took some time to listen through the official soundtrack, and there were multiple pieces that I could not place where they actually were located. Perhaps one day it might warrant giving the game another shot, just to see what New Game Plus has to offer, but I really just don't know. Nier Automata feels like a pretty polished game that lacks a purpose or a narrative or a story overall. At the end of the day, it feels like an incredibly well-polished tech demo, waiting for a story to be clawed out by people who dive too deep into the game or possible sequels and follow-ups. We at SRN give Nier Automata a 3.1 out of 6, with points deducted for a lack of a cohesive narrative and many of its positives being related to both the gameplay and the music. Thank you for watching. Remember to like and subscribe to stay in the loop with all things gaming, and check out one of our other reviews on screen now. We hope to see you again soon.